Hey, alrighty, Rue. Let's do it. Okay, let's see. Let's check one thing out. I got to pull up a game real quick. Hold on. While we're waiting, I'll pull up a for the guys to come on. I'll get a eBurge game, a French defense. Just hold on. Let me see here. Let me see. Do 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 do. Let me see. Nothing. Okay. Here we go. Here's one that he won. It's 11 move one, so should be interesting. Oh, it's incomplete. Oops. Not good. Alright, here's one that he did good. Oh, it's called the burglar. That is funny. It got a nickname. Oh, that is funny. All right. Let me pull up another one. And then when the team comes, we'll get started on our end game course. French defense, the normal variation, and a 3, and H6. Kind of like a different line for sure. A6 is interesting. D5 or D4. Let's see, 6. Knight C3 and bishop takes the pawn. It's kind of an interesting line. It got the name the burglar or something like that. It got nicknamed that because kind of how different it was. But it's an interesting game. So castles, knight G7, A3, E5. It's kind of it looks very similar to a structure where White's the one playing the French. Almost. It's kind of interesting. H5. Bishop D6. H4. And knight. The knight wants to actually potentially go into here and up via that way. Wow. And he still won, and all the pieces were put in the same place as before. F4, H5. Knight D7. And it comes in. Bishop F4. Queen D5. Queen takes. I'd be tempted to take here. And then have takes and try to do something with this push. But as black, I'd be kind of a little concerned here. There we go. This is an interesting game. He's moving his rook around. Now all he's got to do is play something like this, and then we can start the process all over again. B1, D5, Bishop D7, Knight E, Bishop E2, Queen there, takes, takes, Knight takes, Queen check, in theory he really can't grab any of these pieces. It's actually an impressive game. That's after takes. You could actually take there and you're up 2 pieces. That's so impressive. It's like right here almost all of his pieces are on the back rank. I gotta see when the tide turns. There has to be a turning point. I want to see what it is. This is the turning point right here. I knew it. I knew he should have taken. This is the tide turner right here. When he didn't take is when white started to lose. Wow, actually taking was a mistake of the bishop, but it's by taking it you actually lose though. Surprisingly, this is actually the better of the lines by a 0.1. Human terms, this is actually better. So E takes. Knight, that's okay, still good so far. White still has the lead taking, so king takes. Okay, queen. I'm gonna say that this might be when everything started shifting, when the queen went away from the, yeah, that is so odd. That queen move was wrong. It just felt wrong. But see, this king move believed the threat. So if bishop here, queen checks, king over. Now you have queen here, and then queen comes back, and then knight comes in. Okay, bishop takes, pawn takes, and I think something like knight to g4 probably would be a good idea. Or the queen shift. Rook. The rook probably shuffle. And then takes, king takes. And now the interesting thing is we're actually up material, surprisingly. I don't know how that happened. How in the world did that happen? All back here. Wow, he consolidated all of his pieces. There we go. Now this is when Emmanuel Burge takes over. C5, G. And so he played rook h4, right? And now if you notice, this is knight h4 here. When he played back here is when the position started falling apart, because it allowed more attack, and queen b1 was played, and I think this move also was a waste of time by his opponent, a big time waste, and that allowed him to mobilize his queen right here. Yeah, he played rook f2, and boy, bishop d7 is a good move as well. I believe this was also a mistake, to a dubious move. Queen e5, and now you're threatening tons. He actually could take, yes, but the queen comes sliding in. And now the king moves, then you check, knight comes in, and then excuse me, then you have bishop h2. He does check. This is a forcing line, and king h f2 and here, and at this point you take, queen takes, and queen takes, and now you could actually bring your other pieces in, and this is so winning. If you take here, it's game and set and match. Everything's just mate 6. So first he took, come back and take, h1 check, that goes there, and then rook slides over to protect the knight, and then in comes he just keeps compounding the pressure and pressure after pressure. Check is forced. King h1. We don't really much care if he takes here, we don't really much mind, because then now we have all of our pieces involved in it. If rook here, you take, and then you just take here, and now you just start pushing the king back, bring the bishop in, and at this point he has this, he pushes, and then the queen comes in, and now you have the slice and dice. So takes, Bishop G, queen takes, takes, there, and then knight takes. And you're up 2 whole pieces, and I don't really think there's a way of holding here. I'm thinking that check here. Okay, so we're actually going for a pawn here. And then you just come over and develop via there. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can't pull up one more game. It was an interesting one for sure. Let's see if Simon Williams has any new ones. I think he was playing in a tournament. I gotta see how he's doing. No, that's nothing with his. Well, we could do his draw. We'll look at the Simon Williams game, the draw. He had a draw here. 17 moves. It could be informative on for some learning to see what the draw actually was. So the BOGO Indian. Oh, the anti-Ninzo Indian. Castles, a3, bishop takes, and d6, queen c2, queen e7, bishop c3, bishop knight c6, and then after this one we'll get into our endgame. e3, a5, h3, e5, should be 2, e8, takes, pawn takes, b3, b6, castles, should be 72, takes. At this point they agreed to a draw. I think it had something to do with that black didn't want to see that. So, okay, let's go over our this is a queen. This is a end game where it's black to move, and he ends up queening. So, I'm on, and I have to actually turn the board. Okay, so queens, bishop d6. We're trying to hold on. Bishop queen d3. I'm thinking that's right. Let me see. Oh, king d3. And the game can't be won without the help of the king and queen. That's what Jeremy Silman said. So king at f5 and queen to f1 check. Black will basically kick the king around a bit after some infiltrating and continue to make ground against the monarch. That's what this move starts. He goes king e5. I think, is that right? Yeah, king e5. Queen e2. Black's queen continues to push inward onto white's king. King f5. And then queen h5. Queen h5. Finally pushing the king back. Since king f4, queen h2 actually wins the bishop, because whatever happens, you get that. So after here, king f6 had to be played, and we're going to promote that to the main variation. King e4. See, we're slowly putting the squeeze on the king. We're depriving the king of activity. Bishop f8. We have to keep trying not to move the bishop too far from the king, since it would lead to a loss. Like if we played queen g3 here, queen to f3 would lose it'd be a loss. So also bishop c7 would end up losing too with queen to h6. King would have to come up to e7. E7, king d5, bishop d8, queen g7 check, king e8, and then king to e6, which follows with mate to boot. So we can't do that one. Alright, and there's one more that he could try, bishop e7, which is actually not a good move, because h6, again, king f7, king e5, and black will continue his progress of basically pushing the king back. The king will slowly have to go back, and if the bishop retreats, then what we can do is, like if the bishop comes here, oops, what are you doing to me? The bishop comes here, queen would actually be able to come in like that, and then after something like this, you can now bring the king in, and there's really no way of saving this position. The bishop has to move, and wherever the bishop moves, this is mate next. So that's why bishop f8 is the best of the lot. Queen e5 though, remember, you get to see the power of the queen versus the bishop. King g6. You could actually potentially, he has king g6. Oh, queen e8. Queen e8 here. That would push the king back to protect. You could actually, I was thinking something like this, and then you have a potential move order of something like, you still got him in the box. That's just my line. This is what Jeremy Silman says would be the best move here. So we'll promote that to the main line. king g8, g7, because you have to stay in close with the king. And I'd probably say king f5, yeah. Bishop a3. We have to keep this bishop alive. It's our last shining hope. Queen g6, and then king h8. And king e6. See, the one thing that saves it from not being a stalemate is this bishop here. Intending to actually play f7, because you got to be careful though. We don't want to walk into any problems. For you, potentially you could actually play here, and you get the same, potentially the same result. But queen e6, bishop e7. He's trying to give the bishop up, and we're like, I don't think so. King f7. We're like, you can stay there and do whatever you want. Bishop f8, and then queen g8 is mate. Jeremy Stillman made a little joke here. This is like, please take my bishop. It's like, pretty please take my bishop. Yeah, black's not gonna get materialistic and lose in that one. So okay, let's pull up another one, and we'll keep that tab so we can go over it if you have any questions. Let me get a drink. Alrighty, we'll pull up a board editor, clear the board. Come on. And now that we're having white be the side that challenges the knight, white's going to actually challenge the knight in this line. And it's white to move. Analyze with the board. Okay, king h2 is what was played. Bringing the king over to help the queen. King g2 actually loses a piece. Actually, it loses with a draw, because that's a fork. So this would be a really bad move. So that's why king h2. So king e6. Oops, not d6, e6. He has to keep the knight in contact. Well, I mean, to keep the king in contact with the knight. It's vital that you do that. Queen d4 deprives the space of the king, and also the knight loses a lot of its power. Because if you notice, oops. So let's just show all the spots that the knight can go to. The queen cuts the majority of them out. The queen moves up to take command over a few more squares of the king and queen. We'll continue to do this so that slowly but surely the enemy king will be pushed to the side of the board. So our goal is to actually push the king to the side of the board and then checkmate him. Knight e7. A trick. Did you see what black is hoping for? Do you see what black is hoping for? If we bring the king into g3, his little hope is this. Getting a little too comfortable. That was his hope of playing e7. Queen e4, we're not falling for that. We're going to promote that to the main line. Again, white is on guard, g3, knight f5, and would then, the knight would have saved the day. He would have sallied forth and have saved the day on this fork if the king had moved up here instead of the queen. But we did not allow that to happen, so queen f6. Now king g3 can be played. There's no forking ideas, and if he played to f5, we can actually potentially just play our king up. So king g3, knight g6. And the threat is it's to stop after we get to our king here or there, and then he wants to stop king g4 g5 type of setup. So king g4 is played anyways. Knight e5 and king h5. See how we're slowly depriving the space from the king? We're slowly, he only has these squares to go to here. These are the only squares, and we're slowly pushing the king further back. King e6. On knight d7, white would continue squeezing with queen to c6, king e7 to hold on to the knight. So remember, the king has to hold on to the knight, otherwise it's going to go down to a king and queen, and it will end up becoming a lost game. So we just come closer. We got to be careful. Don't get tempted to come up here, because you might walk into, this would walk into a sad fork. So that's why you have to be careful not to do that. So we don't want to do that. We go king g5, and then no more forking ideas. Yeah. So king e6, what was played by black, and we play king g5. King d6 is trying to stay in the center. King f5. Knight d7. d4 check. See, we're trying to push the king back. He only has these squares to go to, so he's got to go further back. King e7. They also said it's also hopeless with king c6, because king e6 attacking the knight, knight c5 check, and king e7. And we're slowly pushing the king away. And then king d6, and the king's coming closer and closer to the side of the board. So that's why king e7, and then queen d5. We're just tightening as they say, the loose ends of the position. So he really has only two squares to go to. Knight f8 was actually what was played. There is another line besides this, queen to b4. I'm thinking they said also takes away more squares. King f7, queen b6, maybe 7, king e7, queen c, and then we're just slowly, and then king e6. Knight not there, knight f6, I'm thinking is e6. So what am I missing here? I'll move 10. King f7, queen b6. King e7, king c6, king e8, king e6. This must be, it says that knight, it must be this here. King d6. Yeah, this is it here. And it's even faster. The basic plan is the box plan. Will make your life easier by offering and constantly squeezing the box closer and closer. But it just took a little bit more time with this move here. So just watch. Hey, how you doing? We're gonna get on to we're gonna finish up this, and then we'll get on to I have this board setup I wanted to show you for chapter 2. We're just going to finish this one off, and then we'll go on and do that one as well. Okay, knight f3, queen c5 check, and then king to f7. Obviously, king d7 is actually a big time blunder because and is a big time because of this here. You lose the knight, and king d8 is also a blunder. So the king has to actually move to f7, queen c7 to keep connection, then e8, and then the king would go to f6, and the knight has to go to d7, king e6, knight f8, and then king to d6. And now there's really no way to stop. If he comes here, it's mate. If he comes here, mate. If he comes here, we take. So there's no real way to stop the mating threat. But okay, we first went over the bishop line, so we'll start back here. This was the one we went over, so I wanted to catch you up to speed on what we just went over. We're going over how to mate against a queen and king versus a bishop and king. How to actually mate. That's the second chapter. And then we just went over one that did how to mate with a queen versus a king and queen versus a knight and king. Okay, first of all, we come here, queens. Then you just move the king up. The king and queen have to work good together. Queen f1, king e5, queen e2, king e5, h5. So now we're putting the squeeze on. He played king to f6. If he goes king f4, we actually win the bishop here with a skewer. King f5, and then we take. So only move is to move up the board. King e4. Bishop f8 is vital. If he plays queen bishop to f3, bishop g3, queen f3 actually picks up the bishop. And if bishop c7, check, king, and then basically we just keep squeezing until it's mate. And then the next one here is if bishop e7, queen h6, king f7, king f5, bishop d8, queen e6, knight, king f8, king g6 there, and then mate would follow. So those are the lines that Jeremy Silman talked about. And then here we form our box. That's why it starts out with the mates with those pieces, because you get to see how it actually works. And then check, and then king comes to f. There's also a I talked about f6, and you can actually potentially tighten up. This was just my line. You come in and slowly just keep tightening. This is a way that Jeremy Silman talked about it. So king g7, king f5, ace3, queen g6. I gotta say, a bishop and king versus a king and queen, the bishop's a lot much easier to mate the king against. King h8, queen e6. If king f6, you have to be careful. You can still end up mating the king. You just got to be careful here. Who's that person? Oh, it's a Jeremy Silman international master. It's the endgame course. We're just going over that a little bit. It's always good to go over his course on here. And so this is actually what was played here. And then when the bishop moved, it was kind of, he had a funny little thing. The bishop's like saying, please take me. And then like, pretty please take me. And then it's like, no, I think we're going to go for mate. And now we're looking at the knight. We're looking at our knight movements here. This is if you have a white as white. Black got to play and basically win against white, so he switched up. So there's you got to be careful. Don't go g2 because it would sadly end in a draw. So whatever you do, don't go g2. King h2 is important. King e6, queen d4, and then the knight trick. If I'm going to propose it to you, what's the move that actually draws the game here? The king g3 is a mistake. What is the move that draws the game for black? It's black to move and draw. Yes, right. Knight, right. Knight f5, correct. Yep, that's right. That's why when he plays here, you always got to ask yourself, what are the landmines? I always think of the knight movements as land. Where do I have to avoid? So first we check, and we get the queen off of basically the forking position. So king f. Now we can go king g3, and we don't have to worry about drawing the game. Knight g6, king g4, 95. Oh yeah, the knight is dangerous when it comes down to a queen and king versus a knight and king. You got to be careful that you don't walk onto onto the landmine squares. There's king h5, which is good, and he has to move. If you go king d6, queen checks, and it just pushes the king back. See when the king and the knight are separated, if you can like attack the knight, the king has to be drawn back to protect the knight. So that's how you can also push back the king. And then now you just bring your king in and you start squeezing, making the fence that we talk about. But the white played here king e7, king g5, king d6, king f5, knight d7, queen d4, check, king e5. There's also, if king e6, there's king e, and then you got to be careful with checks, king e7, king b, and then you bring in, and this is kind of a setup too. And what you're doing is you're slowly just pushing the king back, push, push, push. So here, king e7, and then queen there. There's also a faster, this is a faster line right here. King f7, queen b4 or b7, he comes there, and you just slowly tighten up, tighten, and then eventually mate's gonna come down. So but we play king, it's one move later. King f7, f8, queen c5, king f5. If king here, that'd be a mistake. If king here, mistake. So only move is king f7. Check. And then king up. We got to be careful that we don't walk on any, landmines. So always be on the lookout. Give yourself some time to think. There, check. King there. King f8, check. Here, and there's no way to stop mate. Whatever black does, he plays there. You can actually potentially, let me see if he plays here. Let me see. Probably attacking the knight would be the best move, and there's really no way for any checks. So when he comes here, then you could come back and mate. So if he did that, and this, you just take, and that's going to be mate. Here you take, and then yeah, you walk the king over to here, and then you checkmate. So there's no way. So you gotta the only critical line is this. You just attack the knight, and then when he comes back, you have mate too as well. So just attack it. Don't get scared. Don't like do some sort of checks or anything. Just go gently after that knight and say, I'm here, so what are you gonna do? And if the king runs, you just mate. So whatever it happens, it's over. Okay. We'll do one. Oops, pawn move. We'll do one pawn setup. Okay, and then we'll get into our tactics. We'll start. Those were just checks. Now we're going to take a look at how pawns advance and everything. So I'll get it set up here. And this one section is called Understanding the King. And he says in the end game, pawns and knights, pawns and kings take an enormous role in the end game. When you reach the end game, the king rushes to the center of the board, and the pawns start going down the board. That's what he says. He says it's very what's neglected in basically 1200 and under players are their endgame studies. That's what he said. And he says that it's very vital that for all stages of players, you should have a good endgame basis. And he breaks it up by levels of players too in his book. Okay, this is it's black to move here. White can't mate the king alone. He can promote his pawn to a queen, a rook, and that will do. But why not go for basically the biggest one, the queen or something like that, and try to promote, right? Sometimes a new queen will end up causing a draw or a stalemate. Basically, that's what he's saying, is that sometimes you may have to turn a pawn into a rook to avoid stalemate. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity to mate with just a queen and king. You might have to mate with a rook and king. So that's why he lays the groundwork, the foundation with those checkmates. But he builds up your house of understanding. So king, 1 second. Hold on, hold on. Did I put this on the wrong square? Uh-oh. Spaghetti-o, I need to flip the board. There we go. Uh-oh, I made a blunder there, a slight boo-boo. Hold on, let me get this right. Okay, so d4, just give me a second. d4, that was odd. I knew there was something slightly wrong with the position. Thank you for your patience with me on this, but we will get this. Let us flip the board real quick though, so that we can look at it from white's side. It's a lot easier doing that sometimes. Okay, king d6, king e4. This actually ends up a stalemate here, and then when the king pushes, you come in front. This is how the stalemate works. Come up with the king, you come to e5, or you come to c5, it doesn't matter. You come up here, you come there. When he tries to push back, you always want to stay back. You got to be careful that you don't fall for. I'll show you a trick that potentially can happen. That's stalemate. Be very careful at this moment that you don't. Let's say that this happens. Be careful not to do this, because that actually will lose for you. I think it will. Let me see. I'm not. Let me see over here. I think it still draws. Yeah, I was wrong. I think it draws either way. Maybe it's this here. Still a draw. Interesting. Is there any way to lose this? No, I guess it's still a draw. This is a plain old draw no matter what black does. So here, here, there. So we already did that. What if we play here? You're probably wondering that. The same exact thing is come up. He does the same thing. He comes in front. You always want to stay in front of the pawn. But there's later on we're gonna go over opposition. But first of all, we'll save opposition for next time, and then we'll go into some of our end game. Or do you want to do some more end game? Do you want to do some puzzles, or do you want to go for some more end game? It's up to you. Do you guys want to do more end game studies, or do you want to go to puzzles? Because I have another section we can go over. Oh, I'm gonna throw it into your, as they say, court, and see what you guys want to do. Because I love puzzles and games. Puzzles, all right. That's perfect. Then we'll pick up opposition tomorrow then. So we'll start puzzles. We're going to do like a section or two, because the chapter is actually, this is his biggest chapter. Chapter 2 is. There's like about 6 or 7 sections in it. There's usually like 2 or 3 in his other ones. But he says that it's vital to learn the pawns, opposition, and how to do stalemate and all that, so you don't fall for it. Let's see here. Alrighty. Okay, I'll be right back. So take a look at this, and I'll be right back. Yeah, I was cooking some cake, and so I had to go and turn off the oven and take it out and get a slice. So good. Really good. Okay. So what have you decided on here so far? What are some of the move sequences? This is the best cake. So you're not sure whether to check first or attack the queen. See, if we draw the queen away though, then we have a potential attack. See, we almost have mate here. So if we need to look at kind of bringing all the pieces into the fight, see what would happen if we oops there we go rook e8 and tried to draw the queen away. See, rook e8 is a pretty interesting move. If queen takes e8, now we've drawn the queen away. So what we now have to do is say, what can we do now that the queen is drawn away? We can play a couple moves. We can actually bring our queen in. We can start an attack like what you're seeing with check. So rook e8, queen, oops, e8. That's funny. Queen takes e8. Let me see here. Queen h1, check. King has to go to e2. King e2, and I'm wondering what to do after that. I do like drawing the king away though. I think it's a good move because we don't want the king to be involved in any of our attacks. So we have to now configure what do we want to do here. Do we want to check? See, we have to now take into consideration after queen h1. We actually do have queen. Oh, wait a second. I'm silly. Silly again. We don't have to go queen h1. If we go queen to h3, that's the reason. Queen h3 check. If king e2, queen to d3 is mate. So he can't go to d2. So queen h3 check, king g1, and then queen h1 is actually mate. Okay, I'm for sure on this. Queen to d2 is mate, or d3. queen d3 is mate. Queen d3 is mate. I'm 100% on this one here, so I'm gonna go with it. 110% on that one. That was 110%. I was sure on that one. There's also another one though. I also saw another potential mating idea that our opponent could do. I mean that we can do. Now the reason we draw the king away, the queen away, is we want this point here. When the queen takes, we now control h3. Yeah, it was a tough one, but we control h3 here. So, and that's why we're able to do it. So that if he comes here, that ends up becoming mate. If he comes up here, this ends up becoming mate. He could potentially try queen to queen g4 is an interesting idea, but then you actually have a check here. The queen has to go to g1, and then rook takes here. The king would have to take, and then you take here and you win. What if bishop takes? What if bishop takes g2? I think we just take the queen, and actually I think we just we check. When he comes up, we grab the queen, and then bishop e5. Then you grab the bishop. If he comes over here, you grab the rook, and if he comes here, then I believe we have mate here. That's mate, yeah. So you have to wait. If he takes, you have to wait for just one move. Patience. Patience is a virtue. F1, king comes up, then you grab it. With check and you win. There's no way to avoid losing at that point. Alrighty. Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, let me get one more bite. That's so good. Pie is good. Okay, boy. I'm wondering if there's something to do with queen takes c2. Queen takes c2 check. I'm wondering if there's something to do with that. Trying to see. Queen takes c2. Let's take a look here. Queen takes c2 check. Knight e2. would lose to queen takes d1. So that would be bad. Queen takes c2, king e1, and I think we're good. I think we're okay with knight queen takes g2. I'm thinking at that point, and even if we get a couple checks in by the queen, the white queen, we still can actually have our knights come in with mate. So I'm going queen c2. I'm thinking that queen takes g2, and if queen d5 check, we have we can actually play king e7. So if we play queen takes g2, queen d5 check, king to e7, and they may try queen takes d7, knight takes d7, rook takes d7, check, and then king takes d7. And I think we're winning at that point. At least we're winning there, because it's ultimately losing for our opponent. Knight c5. Knight c5. That does block the check, doesn't it? Okay, that makes sense too, because knight c5 blocks it blocks d5, so that blocks the d5. So now and there's no way for the queen really to check. Well, I guess there would be one square. So knight c5, the queen would be able to go to queen to a7 check, king g8. If queen a8 check, then king to no, that would be bad. King h7. No, that would be bad move. This is actually king c5 is a good move here. It wins because I'll show you. I just have to get the right king movement in. I want to make sure we get the right king movement in here. Okay, king e1. Okay, king h5. Okay, only move would be queen a. Oh, queen. No, he wouldn't. Queen a7. There's queen a8 here. I mean a6. King. Oh, king g6. Okay, I knew I missed something. Yeah, because then he doesn't have time for check here. Doesn't have time to check on this square there. This is where they want to get to, but they can't. See, even if we played here and he played there and here, he can't even come here because of taking. We win the queen. So the best they're saying is actually queen c7 and then king g6 and queen takes e5, pawn takes e5. Excuse me. And I think, let me see, was that right? Pawn takes e5. Yeah, f takes e5, and rook. Oh, knight h1. Okay, to kind of hold on to this pawn. And knight d3, rook takes d3, queen takes d3, and eventually we're going to end up infiltrating in here via here. So like if you place something here, we just come straight in, it comes up, and we grab the knight, and then we queen. So that was a good one. Now it's the best cake. Well, this is a sneaky puzzle here. If we play g7, rook g3, bishop takes c7 check, and we pick up the piece. Boy, that check really, I'm kind of stumped where to put the king. I'm really stumped on this one. I'm thinking, let's see, king e2, rook g1. Oh, I think I got it. Yeah, king c2. Yeah, king e2, rook g1, rook g1. Bishop c3 check. King e6, king f2, rook g6, and then we have h5. If rook goes to g3, I'm still looking at that line. I know this one's right. Okay. Oh yeah, that does work, doesn't it? Yeah, we could. Oh, nice find there. King f2 does work. Okay. That's it. Yeah, because the pawn's on the right square. Ah, why didn't I think of that? That's funny. So king f2 is actually a good move. King f2 is a good move because if rook takes g7, bishop c3 check wins the R. Yeah. And now h5 forces forces R forces rook takes g7. h5 forces rook takes g7. So what says the group? I'm thinking h5 wins on the spot. h5's the win. Yep. Oh, so he played rook g5. So I guess we just push h4. h4 also potentially would win. Let's see here. Oh, that works too. Yeah, I looked at h4. I'm wrong on that. Yeah, that's a mistake on my part because he can actually check at that point. Bishop d2 is actually a strong move because if he tries checking on f5, we can actually then go king g3. See, bishop d2 is vital because if rook f5 check, we have king to g3, king g3. That's a vital move. This is okay. And with that, we play here and we win the rook. Good job. Good work. Good work. Sorry if I moved too fast. I was sorry about moving too fast. Good work. Good work, team. Good work, team. I knew that. This one we had worked out, so I didn't want to lose any more points because I think if we would have waited another like minute or so, because we already knew what the answer was, we might have only gotten 4 points. We got 5 this time. 2 thumbs up. Thank you for the help. Couldn't have done it without you. We're a good team. Okay, huh. I'm thinking about this move here. Queen takes... No, we can't do that. Let me see here. See, queen takes f2. Rook takes f2. Knight c1. Maybe it has something to do with a queen. Something's telling me a queen movement, like queen c4 maybe. Queen c4 might be an idea, because the rook on d3 is actually vulnerable. But I might be missing. Something. What am I missing here? Well, that is interesting. True, that is interesting too. Yeah, Queen C1. I like your idea, Erie. Queen takes F1. King takes F1. Queen takes F1. King takes F1. Knight C1. Um, if Rook A, if Rook to C2, Knight takes on D3. Rook takes C6. So, um, we're up material. So do we want to trade down? Yeah. I know this is right. I'm just thinking if trading down's the proper move. Oh, wait a second. We can actually pin something. We could actually pin a rook. Can we actually play bishop d3? Can we play bishop d3 there and pin the rook to the king? Hmm. Because bishop d3, rook c2, check, king b1, or b2, sorry, king b2, king e2, and then bishop takes. So bishop d5, rook takes d5. Rook takes d5. One second. I'll go grab a water. One sec. Take a look at that to see if I'm missing something. got me a water. Ready to go again. Alrighty. Okay. There we go. This one's pretty interesting here. Good find though on this here. And the only problem with knight here is I think that queen c3, and he gets some sort of counterplay with that line. I think it's still okay, but he still gets counterplay with like c2, and he gets the knight back because it's trapped. So that's why that one. But this here, if rook checks, the king just goes to b7, and this is still pinned. When if the king moves up, we can actually attack it again. Sorry, just attack it. You don't have to lose the piece. c3. First of all, you can actually play rook takes. If rook takes, bring the other rook into the fight. And then if the knight comes back here, you take with that rook. So just keep pinning the pinned piece. Great work, team. Okay, dokie, let's see, what do we got? What are we working on now, team? I'm thinking of queen a1 check. That does lead queen a3 does lead to if we got another move, queen c3 is actually mate. Oops, sorry, forgot to put a 3 in there. Give me a second. Come on. There we go. There we go. It's what Varakobian calls a quiet move. Grandmaster Varakobian. I'm gonna go with it. I like it. Oh, so he moves the king now. He moves the king. He ruined our plan of. Why didn't he just move the queen? Then we could have had queen c3 and it would have been easy for us, right? No, no. They don't make it easy for us. They actually want us to work though. We're doing good. We're doing good. We just got to stay focused. Let's see now what can we play here. It's pull between queen c5 check, queen e3 check, or yeah, that would work. Queen takes. So that actually is. I did miss one. My bad. This is also a line too. D7 check. I forgot one line. So let's take a look at the most forcing capture check. Now that that's been proposed. So let's see here. Rook takes d7. Takes d7. So knight takes d7. Rook takes d7, and oh, queen. Queen c5. No. Queen e3 check. King c3 check. My queen c3 check. Queen e3 check. Queen c5 check. F4 check may be an option. Huh. Like in knight takes f7. Okay, now that we got the king moving, we we now potentially could win the queen. So we have to be on guard 100% here. Queen c5, check. King to e6. Oh, that is it. Queen c5. So okay, Queen c5 check. King e6. King e6. Queen takes f5. Check. King d6. let's see. E6, and then queen f4 check, and we win the Q. So queen c5 check, king e6, f takes, oops, queen takes f5 check, king e7, queen queen f6 check, king f8, queen h8 check, king f7, queen takes b8 is an idea too. Is the line correct? Is queen takes f5 right? Am I going down the right track, everyone? Team, am I going down the right track? You can just put in yes. Yep, perfect. You're funny. Economy. You have to be happy, you know. We're learning. That's what it's all about. The team's learning. All right. And then the final last attack. Queen h8 check. Oops. Yikes. Queen h8 check. And we're dropping it on the board. Do we drop it? And is that a yes? Put in there why yes if it is. Are we all in agreement on the final move? I'm 110% on it, but I want to make sure that because we're doing so good on our points, I want to have a second opinion. What do we all think? Queen a8 check. I'm almost like 120% on this one. Yeah, super power move, loving it. Wham. And we get it. There we go. Let's take a look because economy talked about instead of the king going to e6, the rook could have went to d5. So let's take a look at that. Game review time. Do you have any games you'd like to go over? I think Queen E7 is the reason it didn't want to do that. King D4 and then Queen E3 check, and then when the king came up here, you get the same exact thing. It doesn't matter what you do. Here, you lose the queen either way. It just chose the shorter way of losing. They would have lost anyways. Economy. It would have ended up with the queen being lost. Yep, exactly. Let's see if I can pull up a game that I'll see if I have a game that I can go over. Let's see if I have a good one on alliedchess.org. Oh, that is funny. But that's why it's a puzzle. It puzzles us, right? That's supposed to be funny. My bad. Bad joke, bad joke. I know, I had a bad joke there. Let me see here. Let me get a good one that's a little longer. Do 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 do. Uh, that's 19 moves, too short. 18. 12 moves. 20. No. 6. There we go. This should be an interesting one here. This is a French advanced variation system. So we'll go over this one. Okay, I'm black. Yeah, it's kind of weird. You usually play. They kind of made an inaccurate move. This is what's usually played with the true advanced variation. And then this is the old main line. This is a newer main line here. Old, new. What I just took, they took king there, castled, queen c7, f4. I probably could have played this here. This probably would have been better. F here, and then if he plays there, then knight, and I could then castle at that point. It's probably a better idea. There we go. Castles. I'm up a whole pawn. That was a mistake. So now I protected my passer. And up the board. And I infiltrate in. H. A. See how I blocked? There it goes. Yeah, that move there, G4, was actually a mistake. He should have moved his king at this point, and because that allowed me to actually win. Takes. Let's see. King up. He plays there. And do you see the mate? Mate in one? Do you guys see the mate in one for black? Okay. You guys got it. Checkmate. And if he doesn't, yeah, there you go. Checkmate. Good work, Erie. And if he just passes the move, you can actually just keep coming if he passes the move. Oops, not there. That was a mouse slip on my part there. And then you get mate there, so takes, and you actually have mate here. Yeah, mate here. You even have a potential mating set up that, let me see here. If you wanted to, you can move over here. Bishop there. If you wanted to, you can mate here, here, that type of stuff. Let's see how we do it for time. Alright, we'll do one more game. I'll see what I got for one more. Hold on. I have to go deep into my database. Sorry, just bear with me. Bear with me. I went over that one. Well, this is a Madison attack setup, so our Mason. In theory, I could have got my bishop trapped with this, so that I'm surprised he didn't do that. That was a mistake, big time. But I still think I would have been okay with an attack via in here. So, but yeah. When they go berserk on the king side, sometimes like that, you can castle queen side, then go for attack on that side. That comes in. It's who can break through first. And so I just push onward with that. Kaboom. Check. Takes. Grab the knight. I was getting low in time, so I just started grabbing things. And G2. Do you have any games you would like to go over? Alright. We'll try this one. Nice. Oh, you played the Cataline. Let's see here. Oh, the Queen's Indian, okay. He transposed it into the Queen's Indian. It's that this is the traditional line for black. C5. One sec, let me get a drink. Better. Okay. E3. Knight A6. Knight A5. Rook C8. E3. So now takes. Okay. Sometimes your opponent will try to, as they say, saddle you with a weak pawn. And I'm surprised your opponent didn't actually take. Well, oh, I see why. Duh. Silly me. That makes sense. If he did, he'd lose the bishop. Duh. That. My bad. Bad on me there. Got a little too ambitious of doing a isolated pawn for my opponent, because I was hoping to, saddle my opponent with an isolated pawn, but then I forgot there's a problem with that. So now if your opponent was to take here, you can actually take back. You do got to be careful of those are hanging pawns, so you have to be 100% on guard of these two pawns here. So he finally saddled you with hanging pawns. Okay. You there? Let me see here. That's kind of a little close getting your bishop in there. I understand why, though. Your opponent wants you to wants to make sure they're safe. Okay. Knight B8, A4, Knight C6. I take C6. Okay, rook takes. Okay, so now you see, yeah, nice work on that fork. Nice. Nice work there. Surprised they traded down. Nice work. Nice maneuvering in the knights. Yeah, this would be tempting, but the only problem is he's got knight there, but then you can actually push it up the board. So I'm kind of thinking that this might have been a interesting line to look at. Here, pushing the pawn on d6, and if king was to come here, you do have this move there, and if he pushes, you could actually take at that point. Come here, and then the knight could actually now come in here. Yeah, I just figure this. You could just put the pawn right there, and if he moves here, you just take it on home, and you have the same type of setup here. But this time you have check. Oops. What am I doing? Hold on. That was weird. Sorry about that. That was a hiccup. And then you take, and now you can get another queen up the board. There you go. You always gotta look for the move. You did it. Your move was good. It still would have worked, but he potentially could have pinned the pawn with queen g7 there, and then played this. He would have had to come up, and then he plays here, and it's kind of one of those headaches that you get. You're still winning. You're still super duper winning. And then if he takes, knight takes, and then you can get your pawn going. So you're ultimately winning. Right here. What if what? Oops, d6. So d6, yeah. And if he moves his king here, you got there. If he goes there, you... Hold on. Okay, here. Oh, f5. Yeah, you can move your pawn. You can move your queen up if you wanted to. Your position's so winning that it does. Yeah. Oh, queen c7. Oh yeah. Oh, c7. Yeah, that would work. Yep. And there's no way to stop it. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. That forcing line works. Yeah, yeah, that line works. Yeah, no tricks. Yeah, it's just... I just figure why give up your knight if you don't have to. That's kind of why I thought about just pushing here, and if he plays here, you still have the potential for a knight maneuver. This pawn's still covered, but you're right. It does allow no tricks. And if he plays here, you have knight there, and you've alleviated everything. But yours, like what you're saying, yours is a lot more forcing. Yeah, you sometimes you can't be materialistic, and there's no way for him to get there in time. So even if he tried to, push onward here, Oh, wait a second. He can actually stop that. Oh. Oh, wow. Yikesies. Your opponent could stop that. Uh-oh. It was a good thing you had a knight. I think you still would have been okay. You would have had to shelter. Oh, okay. That's odd. He would have taken, and it would have ended up a draw. That makes sense now. Why d6? I wonder. I want to see what the computer says is the best. I think it's going to say d6 because that you still have the capability of error, internet network error. You still have the capability of here and oh, come on, work with me now. Come on. Let me make sure we're still recording. Okay, we're still recording. Okay. Can you guys still hear me? Ah. Okay. Good. Sorry about if I dragged yours in me too, but there's a reason. I think that this actually, with proper play here, if you played here, I'm not sure if it goes to a draw or not. I think it's still winning, but he gets there just in the nick of time. I think you'd have to give up the pawn. Oops. My bad there. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get back to that spot. Right here. There we go. So this is the most accurate move, and if he plays here, you have the knight maneuver that, like what we talked about here, and you're good to go. That's going to come under fire. If he plays here, you just revert your knight back. If he comes over, you can actually now bring your queen in, and if he comes here, potentially you have a en route via there. Yeah, yes, these are just quirky lines you have to always, in endgame. That's why you got to study endgame, because certain moves will bring about certain consequences in your position. No, not a problem. Anything to help, That's the whole thing. Is the Lord's given me a gift that I get to share with you, my chess friends, chess cruncher friends. So, alrighty. Do you have any more questions on any area in your game that you were wondering about? Any more lines before I log off? All right, perfect. Okay. I wanted to thank you all for logging on. We're doing good. We're a team. We're working through it. My computer is sometimes very rebellious, and it doesn't want me to do a lot of the mouse things. But yeah, you know what? You work with it, you go with it, and that's kind of how life is. You know what? You gotta dodge one punch and then you counter the other, and then you win. So, congratulations. We're on our way to 2,900. Thank you, Play the Grub, for the game. That was really informative on an end game idea that you always have to make sure that you calculate out the lines exactly, because what will happen is one small move could actually turn the tide. Like the king got back to the pawn, and you know what? It looks like it's impossible, but if black would have or Play Their Grub's opponent would have calculated that, it's still winning for white because you have a knight. So you would be able to gobble all the pawns, bring the king in. Just would have been a longer game. The whole basis of the pawn move, though, was one square closer. And it also makes an in route for the queen to get into. It's just end game. But like what Yazir Sirwan said is every long journey begins with one small step. So you know what? We're doing endgame, and we're going to get our endgame understanding under our belt. We're going to improve, and we're going to have fun doing chess. That's the point. Bruce Lee said there are no limits to our potential. There are plateaus, and he said that we should go beyond those plateaus because it's possible if you dedicate your mind to it, always have the Lord with you, and keep pushing forward in your studies and allowing Him to work with you. Who can stand against you? And remember what Tom Thumb Thumb on Mission Critical said was this: treasure your victories and learn from your losses. So treasure your victories, but learn from your losses. Remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistake that defines you. That because it's not if it's going to happen, it's just when. And how do you handle that mistake? What you do is you say to yourself, let's say we lost that pawn. You say, that a good example is of that game. I have a knight. My knight is strong, and I just have to. You know what? I made a mistake. I have to go and I take that and I gobble all of my opponent's pawns. I bring my king in, like the end game says, and I win the game. Yes, I may have miscalculated. Everybody does. Even Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, miscalculates. So, as long as we're human, we're going to miscalculate something. Even surprisingly, even I do. No, I'm joking. Everybody does, And you have to just remember to keep as a river. You remember on a log. You follow that river downstream. You don't fight against it. Then you know what I mean. Don't fight against mistakes. Learn from them. That's what the supers do. They take their mistakes back and they learn from them. Let me see. Bruce Lee said also, knowing is not enough, you must apply. Willing is not enough, you must do. And mindset is very important. We become what we think about. He also says, and I'm going to leave it on this. He fears the man. He fears not. Listen, I got to put that. But I fear the man who has. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 individual kicks, like different sets of kicks. But he feared the person who has practiced one type of kick 10,000 times. He didn't fear if you just did 10,000 different maneuvers because you haven't practiced them, you haven't mastered it. And that's why endgame study is vital. For students, it's a vital thing for students to learn. You should actually start out in endgame first. That's just my opinion, and then you work to the middle game and then to the opening. But my teacher always taught me you should at least have an opening, one opening or two openings, one for black, one for white. But he trained me for several years in end game, and that's kind of why I have a passion for the end game. I love the end game. We also did puzzles, so that's why I have a passion for puzzles. And so it's just so much fun. But we also have a quote that I like to say: don't give up, get up. And remember, what do we say when we're studying and others come and aren't studying? They say, what are you doing? We're a chest cruncher. What's a chest cruncher? We're team chest cruncher. What's a team chest cruncher? What do? We hang up our coat, we hang up our hat, we sit down and study when most won't. We do, and that makes all the difference over the board in your studies. But always, always, and you have to, and I'm going to say it again, always remember to bring the Lord with you in your studies, because when it's all said and done, and you acquired your titles, what does it mean? Are you going to give back? Did you honor the Lord with your gifts, or did you honor self? We always have to keep that in mind, that the Lord should be first in everything. Okay, I'll leave you with that. But yeah, congratulations to Magnus Carlsen. He won the tournament that he's in. He's doing really good. 2 thumbs up, Team Chest Cruncher. Great job on getting close to 2,900. We're doing it. Great job. Keep studying. If you got games, bring the games. We'll go over them, and we'll get on to our next section of Jeremy Silman in opposition tomorrow. We'll go over that, and we'll learn some endgame. But you know what? Always, always keep pushing forward. And as Wesley so says to the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chest Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on. And we'll keep pushing forward on our studies, and we have to keep moving forward. So that's 2 thumbs up. Go Team Chest Cruncher. Hoorah. Be blessed. And again, thank you for all the games that you brought and all the help. Remember, if you like what you've seen, just click follow and join us on our journey. Bye bye. Be blessed.